Hello and welcome to another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. I'm Alex Donno alongside Jerry Mancini. A lot's happened, Jerry. It's been a couple weeks since we last spoke. We took the week off last week. Mercato madness. I think the last time we spoke, Lukaku to Inter was not finalized at that time. It is finalized now. And Lazio are making moves, right? Moments before we got on, looks like Casale is on his way, and Lotito's been a very busy man, Jerry, in this mercato.
More than I ever expected.
For real.
So, side note, I think that Iglitare is out the door after this season. I don't remember who we just signed, but there's a new sporting director we have who's in charge of the women's football in the youth, I think, or like the preseason, and like it basically, I don't remember his name off the top of my head because I didn't come prepared for that. But short story is that Tade's contract is done after the season. And I think this is the door is open to start a new path for Lazio, and I think that, in all due respect to Tade, who's been, I think, since like early 2000s, I think 2007 or 8, he's been there, and I think a change of face, voice, and how people do business maybe is needed at Lazio.
Yeah.
So I expect next season to be a massive change, but I think the most important thing is that it seems as if Lotito is really committed to Sarri. It's showing. And in addition to Casale, just minutes ago, signing with Lazio and finally officially, it feels as if Verona is our feeder team, like Inter is with Lazio. So which is pretty funny, but it's funny because like they figured out a way today to sell Vavro for nearly 5 million. I don't think they took a loss on that. It's basically kind of maybe a little bit of a profit, or they broke even. And Marici is basically almost a done deal.
I saw that to Bruges
For $12 million.
Oh my
Apparently,
God, that's a
I
miracle in
I
itself.
I can't believe someone's more stupid than Tade. That's what I've learned today. I've learned that someone is dumber than Lazio to take these two players back. Okay. Now, in defense to Vavro, I know that Copenhagen is a much lower level of football.
Yeah.
The Danish league is not comparable, so I think that makes sense for him. That's his level. It's not his fault with Lazio. He never really got the chance to kind of prove himself. So, but his comments on Twitch about hating Lazio is something really dumb, where it really turned the fans off. Really leaves him in a bad taste now in their mouth. But as for Marici, I had nothing bad to say about Marici. The guy played hard. He never complained. He did everything he could. It was a player that just never made sense from the beginning, and it's this very poor business by Tade because he loves his Albanian players, Kosovan, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are. Is his brand of football players he buys that just never makes any sense to me. Dermisi was another one. It just never strung together, and to get him out for 12 million, it's a miracle. So
Yeah.
And then apparently Romagnoli deal is basically done, but the problem is the agent fees, and that
Yeah.
again, it's always the issue.
Whenever you're talking about getting guys on the quote unquote free transfers, depending on who the agent is, I mean, Inter's been going through it with Dybala, and we're going to talk more about that. And I remember even years ago when Inter signed De Vrij as a free agent from Lazio, it took them a long time to work out the agent fees because the agents, they look at it as an opportunity to get big time bucks and commissions.
No, for sure. And my question is to you is now, when do you consider firing your agent? If you have a done deal with
It's a
a
great
club,
question.
and where do you step in and say that? And anybody who's in this chat right now, you tell me, like, where's the fine line with an agent? When do you
I can
say
tell you
that?
exactly where it is. When you start to feel like the agent is putting their interests over yours, that's when you fire the agent. And of course, every agent wants to get paid. That's why they do it. They don't do it for some charity. They do it for fees and commissions and stuff. But the agent works for you, not vice versa. And I think sometimes players forget that, especially when you're talking about, young, early 20s, sometimes who, probably focus more on their footballing than they did on their academics and finances, studying things coming up. And I think they can sometimes forget this person works for me, right? Because didn't we feel like we had that with Donnarumma when, rest in peace, Mino Raiola, where it looked like he felt like Mino was his boss when it was the other way around, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you start to feel like, hey, this is an offer I'm happy with, I want to play for that club, and my agent is the reason why the deal isn't happening. I want to do this, and he is making it difficult. I think that's when you fire the agent and you bring your lawyers in and you get the deal done by yourself. We've seen it happen before. Skriniar, who ironically may be on the way out now, but a few years ago, he fired his agent to get a new deal done with Inter. It happens from time to time. Lukaku has done that with Pastorello. So, and actually before he, parted with Pastorello, he parted with Raiola years ago to get a deal done his way. So I think once you realize that the agent is putting their interest before yours, that's when it's time to move on.
No, for sure. And I just think that I wonder if there's like a sentiment, like if there's a clause in your contract that if you were to fire them, then there's a hit on your contract.
Could be.
Is there a fee or something that you're not supposed to like kind of fire somebody? Because I feel like a lot of players they don't do it, or they're very hesitant to do it. So it's to me it's not good. I would be look at Dybala situation. I would have fired my agent freaking 5 months ago.
On tune,
The fact that he's still
yeah.
not playing for a club, this is not like your middle tier player. This is a very good player who should be signed somewhere already. I don't know if it's his demands or the agent's demands that is really hurting his image, his reputation, and ability to play for a better team. He went from going to Juventus to possibly signing Inter to possibly signing Milan to now Monza. Can you imagine if he signs with Monza?
I don't think that's going to happen. Well, and then also Manchester United was brought up.
Yes.
But supposedly they want to keep CR7, they're not going to, they wouldn't bring in Dybala if they still had CR7. Monza is probably going to sign Icardi.
I saw that actually, and can you imagine Icardi with Dybala?
Yeah, that'd be
like,
something.
That would be something else, man.
Well, we know Berlusconi and Galliani are not back in Serie A just to be like, yeah, we'll stay in Serie A for a year, probably get relegated. No, they're going to do whatever they can to build a team that can stay up. Like they have no interest in relegation. So, well, what do you think, Jerry, with Dybala? A couple months ago, and I don't know how many episodes we've done where we've had like Dybala on the cover photo. Like a couple months ago, it seemed like it was basically a done deal. They had agreed to terms. Dybala was coming to Inter. It might still happen. I think it could very well still happen, but it's really stalled. I think part of it, Jerry, I think is very much on Inter's side. Not only the wage demands, which are an issue, but they've got to literally make room in the attack, right? Because they need Alexis to go. And, they probably also potentially need to move Dzeko. Reportedly, there are a few clubs interested in Dzeko, including Monza, who you mentioned. Even, Juventus got brought up. I don't know how serious that is, but they may need to move Dzeko and Alexis because they've already brought Lukaku back, to bring in Dybala. So part of it is just Inter don't like to I've noticed that under Marotta, and probably a lot of this comes from the directive of Suning. They don't like to bring in new players unless they've already sold the guys that they're replacing. Like they don't like to bring the players in first. They like to sell the players or loan out the players first and then bring the replacements in because they probably don't want to get stuck holding the bag if they can't, move the player once they already bring the replacement in. So I think it's still possible, if not likely, that Dybala winds up at Inter, but doesn't feel like nearly as much of a sure thing today as it felt in recent weeks because it doesn't really seem, Jerry, surprisingly enough, I don't think that there's this hot market out there around Europe to pay Dybala what he and his agent are asking for the way they thought it was. I think they thought, hey, we're going to keep up these really high demands, and if Inter don't want to pay it, a half dozen other clubs would. And it doesn't appear that that's the case. I think at some point, if Dybala and Inter is still going to happen, I think he and the agent need to realize that they've got to lower the wage demands and lower the commission demands. I also think that they lost some leverage when Inter brought Lukaku back, because Inter bringing back Lukaku, they're thinking, okay, we don't need as much help in the attack as we thought we might, right? Because we can repartner up. What is it? Lula. I haven't said that in a couple of years, so I forgot what the term was. We can repair up Lukaku and Lautaro, and that was so dynamic. For 2 seasons when they played together. So I think Inter have less urgency to bring in Dybala, and Dybala now is realizing there's not this super hot market of everyone wanting to pay the wages I'm asking for. So I'm not guaranteeing it gets done, but when Marotta said yesterday, talked about, Dybala, nice player, but our attack is set. I think those were very strategic words. I don't think he was literally saying, oh yeah, we're not interested anymore. I don't think he was saying that. I think he was basically sending a hint. Hey, you lower the demands and then you come back to us and maybe we can get this done.
Well, I want to go on a side note for 2 seconds. I want to give a shout out to my boy Sharma, who's in the group. Not doing well right now. He mentioned to me half an hour ago. So get well, buddy. Get well. And Cliff is in the house. And Cliff,
wait, sorry, who is that? That's I missed.
Sharma.
Sharma?
He's not doing well. He said he's got a fever, and I hope you get better, buddy. And
sorry, Sharma. Feel better. I'm glad you're watching, man. I'm glad you're stuck at home and you got nothing else to do but watch Calcio Connection.
Cliff E in the house. Cliff, what happened to you on Twitter? I saw a lot of people asking if you're still alive. Well, now we have the answer. You are alive, so it's good to see. Lord Figo, what's good? My wine in my cellar with my prosciutto that you're not going to have because you can, I don't know, you can bust my balls all day on Twitter. But to return to what you're saying with Inter, I think Beppe Marotta is doing the waiting game. And it's like the market value. Yeah. The stock value, you buy low, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't buy when it's high. So
a lot of people do, but they're stupid. It's impossible to buy high right now because everything's been in the toilet.
So you wait and you wait and you wait. Again, does Inter really need Dybala that bad? I don't think
not at those wages. I don't think they do. I think if Lukaku hadn't come back, they would have gotten this deal potentially done already. But they're less, for lack of a better word, they're less desperate, right, to add something into the attack now.
I think he's a luxury. I think Dybala is a luxury. That's how I look at it right now, is that he's not a need. I think Inter can win a Scudetto right now without Dybala. I think Inter can definitely win a Scudetto with Dybala. Now, my question is, can he play together with Lautaro and Lukaku on the pitch? Like, does he mesh? I'm gonna be honest, I have not really sit down to analyze how the three would work out together. And
it would have to, they would obviously the formation would need to be tweaked by Simone. It would have to be, instead of a 3-5-2, probably like a 3-4-1-2, have him play a little bit higher. But then does that throw off the midfield balance? Then there's a lot to figure out.
The only way he'll change his formation is a 3-5-1-1. That's all he'll do.
Which doesn't help in this situation at all.
Anybody who thinks that Inzaghi's ever going to change his formation in game, before game, next game, not happening. In the time that I've watched Inzaghi, his first season with Lazio, when he took over for Pioli, he did the 4-3-3. I believe it was 4-3-3 that he did, and he had to, because mid-season was practically impossible to go to a 3-5-2 from a 4-3-3. But the next season, he slowly transitioned the 3-5-2 and kind of put it into motion. I don't see this at Inter. He's a guy who will put Dybala as a number 8 or 10 or something inside the midfield, and he will make somehow work. It's hard to see with Dybala. I guess he would play on the right side, right? So I can see him as a right midfielder
Yeah, with that
inside the.
left-footed shot of his coming in,
You
cutting
could
in.
put him. He would be on the right midfield, and does that really hurt Lautaro? Sorry, does that hurt Hakan or Brozovic? No, obviously it won't hurt Brozovic.
Yeah,
Brozovic
Hakan
is.
more likely. Yeah,
I'm not sure if Hakan plays on the left or does he play on the right.
he plays on the left.
So maybe they could work, right? Maybe you put those three together. Like again, then I'm just throwing out some facts here. I don't hate Dybala, and I also don't rate him highly because of his injury history. Now, here's the situation, okay? Look at TFC, Toronto FC. Now, I know that the MLS is a whole different ball game from Serie A or whatever, but they took on Insigne. They signed him.
Yeah.
And already the guy has calf injuries. And this is a guy who has an injury history too. He has a lot of mileage in his body and has already hit a stride, and it's already scary because he makes 12 million a year, and I'm pretty sure that in Italian wages that's probably what 6 million euros, say, or 5 million euros.
Something like
Not
that, yeah.
so now you quit. Now bring that back to Dybala. You'd be paying that much too for Dybala, and I know that Dybala is 27, 28, and Insigne is 31.
I think he's like probably 29 by now. I gotta double check.
But at the end of the day, these two players both have injury history in common. Like, I just think that unless he's
20, he's 28, by the way.
28, so he's up there. And the last 2-3 seasons haven't been really easy for Dybala. At the end of the day, I know I can keep on rambling about this. I'll end it like this. This is my final thought. If I'm Beppe Marotta, wait it out. Wait it out, because if a team really wanted to sign him by now and were really keen to sign him, it would have been done already. It hasn't been done, and I think that if Inter plays the waiting game, they could sign him for a lot cheaper than what they anticipated.
Yeah. No, and I see what Emiliano is saying here. I mean, absolute rubbish. Dybala is a world-class player. Bring him in, but there's just and man, no, listen, you're not wrong about his abilities. I just think there's so much more to it, like Jerry was talking about, with the very high price tag and with the injury history. If this were PSG, fine, we got all the money in the world apparently, and FFP just can't come after us because we're PSG. Yes, sign whoever you want to, right? Pay $50 million for a tattooed up Italian striker, 50 million euros, I should say. What's the problem? But I mean, it's Inter. They just don't have a budget like that. 120 million losses last year. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And yeah, I agree with Mighty Mao, whatever you call him. Financially, we have to be smart, and I think that's it. And listen, if it ends up being a few million that separates it, it's just too much. If they can get it within like $1 million of separation, you figure out a way to do it.
No, absolutely. Again, I just don't like. I don't like taking that much money. Yeah, exactly. Financially, we have to be smart. Mighty Mal, bang, home run. There you go. If you had the money to blow like an EPL team like Harry Maguire for 75 million, just throw it in the garbage. Do it all day, man. Do it all day. But we don't. As much as we banter each other in Serie A, the reality is that there isn't much of a big gap between the top 7 teams in terms of buying. I'm sorry, there isn't, man. It's not like 5 years ago where Juventus would go buy a Pogba just like that tomorrow morning for 50 million, and all the other teams are looking at, oh, I wish we can do that right now. I feel like there's a lot between the teams that they're all struggling to buy players, all for the same reason. And everyone said that Juventus was going to recover in a couple of years. Inter will get back to normal. Milan, no, man. All these teams are hurting.
Yeah.
All of them are hurting. Juve is hurting. Look how long it took them to sign Di Maria and Pogba, okay? Tell me 4 years ago that Juventus would have took this long to sign 2 players. You know what I mean? And again, they did it. They signed 2 players on a free
Yep.
transfer.
Good players too.
They can't buy
Yeah.
players from clubs anymore. They don't
Yeah.
have that ability like they used to. Well, I think in time Juventus will get back because they're like I give them full credit. Their marketing and their ability to like grow their brand allows them to do it long term. I think that eventually they will recover. As for other teams, I don't know. Look at Milan, their whole partnership, and they thought that this new ownership was in a Jerry Carnival or something like that was going to come in and he was going to take over. What do they call again? Their company there. Their uh Elliot. They thought they were going to buy Elliot out.
Yeah.
Elliot doesn't want to leave. Now you got 2
Yeah.
people. It's like
They took a loan from Elliot.
and anybody who really wants to hear about this, listen to the Italian Forza podcast. Is it with
Forza
Nima?
Italian football.
I always butcher it. Sorry, Nima. With Nima.
And, that one. Oh, the Italian football pod with
Nima
Nima and Carlo.
Nima had a good episode basically and broke it down that like they didn't really advance by ownership coming in. They didn't buy the whole thing.
Right.
So they're in a situation right now where they're going to buy a few players, but they don't have that massive spending pool that everyone thought they were going to get. You got Roma, who still are in debt and need to sell players.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've done some good stuff. I as a Lazio fan, I will not be biased. I think that they've done some good stuff, and I think that they are still in a transition rebuild. I think they had a really good season under Mourinho, better than I anticipated.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Inter is really hurting for money still. But at the end of the day,
but also I think Inter, they are hurting, but I think Inter are a really good example when you have a sporting director like Beppe Marotta,
yes.
how much you can stretch the budget, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, you would if you just look at the players that they're signing very creatively, because Lukaku, they may end up buying him permanently. For now, it's a dry loan. We'll see how it goes. That's obviously a big addition. They're making big time progress with Bremer. You get great midfield depth from Aslani, Mkhitaryan. We'll see how that works out. He's an older player, but I think he still has something to give. Bellanova on loan, I think it's with obligation, is being finalized. So they're making some, and there are going to be some sales, right? I mean, we're all following Skriniar, who may end up, unfortunately, on the way out to PSG. There are others who say maybe they don't have to sell him, at least not yet. So we'll see how that goes. So obviously, they're doing everything that they're doing is on a shoestring budget. But if you just look at Inter's mercato to this point, and we'll see what they're able to do with Dybala, if they get Dybala at a fair price, you're going to have potentially like an A-, A+ level mercato for a team that the company lost 120 million last year, so it's pretty incredible what they're doing.
No, that's why I'm very impressed with Lazio selling players. This mercato is so important that I think we've sold like 3 or 4 players, and I'm amazed that we were able to. You know what? I saw a question. Do I think that Lazio can finish in the top 6 this season or above? And can Lazio make top 6 this season? I think they can. I think it's still early. I will go off the track here and say that they're going to sign Romagnoli. It's all about when. That's all. They're going to sign 2 goalkeepers that are going to be better than we think. They're going to go young in that category. I think Strakosha should have stayed from the beginning. Now that Peperena left, I think it was a mistake for him to leave.
Yeah.
I think that kind of screwed him over, because had he known that Peperena was going to terminate his contract, it would have given him a door open there. I think there will be a striker that will come in to back up Immobile, and I think to start the season, there's a possibility that Cherby and Romagnoli could be in the squad together.
Wow.
I know that Latito will sell a Cherby, but I don't know if he'll sell him for 2-3 million. I think he wants 5 million for him. And
how much is left on his deal? How many years?
2
years.
I think.
Okay.
I think 2 years.
Yeah. So maybe.
So, but again, I think that Lazio is going in the right direction. We were the oldest team last year. A lot of old players are leaving. Lucas Leiva is gone this season. He left on the free. Luis Felipe left. He went to Real Betis. I don't really care about him. He is the biggest liability in the back four. Don't care. So you got Marcos Antonio, who just came in, young player. Uh, Mario Gila, he's 21, I believe, for 20, coming from Real Madrid, center back. So they're doing a lot of stuff to overall the team. And I'll say the biggest important thing here is that we're not waiting till the end of the mercato to buy
Right.
players. We're doing it now, so there is time to train with these players and get them ready. I think in the next week or two, I'll say in the next 4 or 5 days that you'll find two goalies will be sold, two goalkeepers will be signed by Lazio, and Romagnoli will be signed. And I think in addition to that, there'll be another few more players that Lazio. I think Mertens could be coming to Lazio as a backup to Immobile. That has been mentioned, and Sarri has talking to Mertens and wants him there. And Mertens has said he's open to the idea because he hasn't
Okay.
signed with Napoli yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Speaking of Napoli, you saw whose agent was meeting with Juventus today. Khoulibaly, his agent had a meeting with Juve. You know, obviously, tough situation between he and Napoli right now. He's out of contract in 2023, and for Juventus, with the departure of Matthias de Ligt, more than likely, you know, they're going to have some money to burn and a big spot to fill. But it's like, man, it's tough, you know, and I wonder what the pulse is of the Napoli nation right now. If you really think this could happen, you know, it was one thing years ago, you know, losing Higuain with the release clause. Like if ADL would actually sell Koulibaly to Juventus, that would be shocking, and it would be equally, if not more, shocking if Koulibaly would actually pick Juventus. And if that were
Mhm.
to happen, Jerry, you know, we had a conversation on this show a couple of months ago about how you just don't have the type of player loyalty in this era than you had like back in the 90s, early 2000s, where like you would never imagine, you know, back then a guy like Dybala possibly leaving Juve for Inter, or someone like Koulibaly possibly leaving Napoli for Juventus. I'm still not convinced that that would actually happen, but there's definitely something going on between Koulibaly's agents and Juve right now. No agreement with Napoli or anything like that. But wow, that would be a shocker if this would happen.
Um, I just don't see it happening. Like that's just me. I don't see Koulibaly leaving Napoli to go to Juventus. And I also think that this is one player who ADL might give a new contract and pay him what he deserves. One, because he's a great player. Two, I think that there's just that loyalty with him there. Um, I'm not sure what will transpire, but even if his camp does get a deal, okay, let's just say hypothetically, who's to say that he wants to accept now, right?
Mhm.
Like I don't think he would want to. He's that loyal. That's just the that's just the person he is, right? So for me, it's like I think at the end of the day, this doesn't transpire to anything. He'll play out the season with Napoli, and from there, you kind of have to see what happens, right?
Yeah, you would think, and listen, obviously money talks, but you would think ADL would much rather lose him for free next year than sell him to Juventus at a discount right now, because like it would have to be at a discount because he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So, but we'll see. I don't know how hard up ADL is for money right now. If you would actually send, you know, after the sting of the Higuain thing, if now he would send Koulibaly to Juve, I'm with you. I have a
Mhm.
hard time seeing it actually happening. I know I've seen some Juventini getting excited about the meeting today, and I totally get it. I mean, he's still, even on the back nine, he's still one of the better center backs in the entire world. So I get it. Why you would be excited? I just have a hard time seeing it happen.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. That's all. That's all I can say. But any other topics that we missed?
I think I'm good for now. I got to go pick up my son from a swimming lesson in a little bit. So, Jerry, if there's anything you want to plug, any stories you've put out recently, I know you're always on fire on social media. You got people a little pissed about Matthias de Ligt with something you said today. If you want to
Oh
plug,
yeah. Oh my god. I don't. Can I ask, like, why do people get so personal when you banter a player? You wanna go rip on Immobile against me? Go ahead, man.
because football is
You,
life. That's why people get
like
so obsessed with this stuff.
you want to rip on me about a player? You go all ahead, man. To you and the power. But when you start calling me like fucking death threats and fucking you are a fucking terrible journalist and you don't know shit, and it's like, bro, can I tell you guys something? I work for Frito-Lay. I'm gonna say I'm a goddamn great sales rep because I was actually voted best rep of the year
I didn't
in
know
my
that.
in my first
Congratulations.
in my first year with the company.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't like to brag about stuff, but when I can tip my head and I want to be, call me cocky if you want, but I'm damn great at my job.
Good for you.
When it comes to a journalist, I am not a journalist. I am nowhere near a good journalist because guys like Padula, DiMarzio, um, I think there's another one I forgot who, but these guys,
Nico Skira is really good.
yeah, Nico Sierra, these
Yeah.
guys work hard. Yeah, maybe these guys, I don't know, I don't want to say who or what, may take one from one and one from the other. Who doesn't? They're none of these guys are saints. None of them
Right.
are. But I'm not here to give chirps. I think they all do a good job respectively in their own ways, like whatever.
Mhm.
And I am nowhere near to what they are. I do journalism for fun. Like I did the TSC game this past Saturday out of my own free time. I don't get paid for it. I do it because it's a hobby that's fun, and I get to meet football players, and it's great to interact with them.
And a bunch of
And
Italians now on TFC, so you're good. You
yeah,
get to meet Insigne,
I'll be at his season
Bernardeschi.
opener.
Yeah.
Uh, his season opener I'll actually be at now
When is
because
that? When is he
now
debuting
he
there?
got postponed it to July 23rd. So
Okay.
I've already applied for that game, which I think most likely I'll be at. And
Awesome.
yeah, like I'm supposed to be I'm in Montreal this weekend, so I wasn't gonna make it to this opener.
Ah.
But yeah, I just laugh. Like if you guys want to chirp on my tweet, that's fine. But I've learned to just mute people because I just laugh when people make personal attacks. It's like I didn't come to your account to like say that you're shit. Like I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. I don't know. I wouldn't care if Delit even made a video on his Instagram about me, showing how good of a year he had, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, hey, remember this Lazio tweet guy? Like, great, give me the publicity. Tell me. I'll
Yeah.
tell everybody I was wrong and I was shit about it, and I'll love it because everyone knows who I am now. For people to like take the time. Like, and the funniest part, I'll say the last thing is that I love when people say that you have bad takes. But guys, and not just for me, for anybody, but just go take a second to see that the people who tell you follow you and how stupid they are because I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. How stupid they are though, because they follow you when they tell you you have bad takes.
Right.
But but when you really think about it, these people are following you to actually want to hear what you
Yeah.
have to say.
They're
So
clearly interested, good or bad. They're interested enough in what you
brain
have to
dead.
say that they follow you. So
I don't
you're
care.
giving something to their life, right?
Yeah.
Like if they feel like it is worth my time to follow Jerry on Twitter, he is providing something that I prefer to have in my life than not to have in my life.
Well, the tweet was basically to sum it up, the lit shit. That was the tweet. And more broader context though, but yeah, you get the point.
It was a funny tweet. I mean, obviously, it's easier for a guy in blue and black to laugh at that than it is for a guy in black and white. But I thought it was a funny tweet. So good stuff. And make sure for funny tweets like that, which direction? There we go. Follow Jerry on Twitter at jmancini8. You can follow me at Alex Donno. And awesome. And guys, we brought the audio version back. So if you're watching this on video and you say I'd rather listen to these guys in the car than look at their faces, you can listen to us the audio version. Subscribe to our pod Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at Calcio Connection, and follow us there on YouTube as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Calcio Connection, and follow us on Twitter at CalcioConPod. We will talk to you again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast.